Hello there. This is Being God's Obedient Servant channel. And today's lessons we're in Nehemiah's chapters 3 through 5. And if you're new to this is a Bible study channel where I go through the Bible book by book, chapter by chapter, verse by verse. I don't skip anything because, well, it's a commandment from God. God says when you teach the Bible, you're to teach all of the Word, not just part of the Word. I think the rule primarily goes towards, priests and preachers. But I do know God wants us to learn all of the Word as well. There's a lot of people that, there's a lot of times people skip lots of the Bible because they think it's irrelevant. And I will say this chapter 3 is going to be quite irrelevant. It's going to be a bunch of names and stuff. But the Old Testament is primarily, not completely, but these sections of it were kind of, primarily written for the Israelites. It's whenever they can, go back through their lineage to see which tribe they came from or anything of that nature. Which, if you want to look at Christians today, we're kind of like the lineage of Judah in a sense because we're adopted children of Christ, which come from Mary, which is a descendant of King David, which David is a descendant of Judah, which is one of the 12 sons of Jacob, which later became, was renamed Israel. So, if you ever really wanted to sit there and say something like that, it says, well, technically, in a way, we're from the lineage, of Judah. But all of it goes back to Abraham. And so, well, I'm sorry, all of it goes back to Adam. And, God created the first one, first male, then created woman, his wife, which later Adam named Eve. But yeah, anyways, it's there's always parts in the Bible stuff for us to learn. It speaks about things of why things are today as what they were of old. And I'm not going to lie, sometimes when I read the Old Testament and how God did things, I kind of wished it was that way. There's going to be parts of that in here where people were rewarded immediately for being good, and if you were bad and it was brought to the attention and stuff of that nature and stuff, you could be punished immediately. It's like, that instant gratification that us humans seek for some odd reason. Except when it comes to ourselves. We never want that. It's like, no, forgive me and let me fix myself, but no, condemn that one there. That's the reason why we're under grace today instead of the law, because the law was that way. And, you were rewarded instantly and punished instantly. And, under grace, though, of course, everyone's given a chance to get right with God. We're not stoned to death for sinning. Even in the Old Testament, they weren't stoned to death for sinning unless they were caught into a major sin, which would defile the society. Kind of like how certain politicians today are releasing criminals throughout all the cities, and even importing criminals from other countries and releasing them stuff just to cause problems so they can try to initiate socialism. I served in the military for quite a few years. I'm now retired, and part of that is you have to learn. Well, used to be, I don't think they do it anymore, but part of it was learning how Hitler became what he did and how he convinced the people to turn his way, how Stalin got communism in, and all these other people, like how Cuba became a communist nation, socialist communist, whichever. And it always goes along the line of you got to destabilize society to the point that they are in fear. And one of those is you take their ability away of defending themselves, which we know which party primarily does that here in America. Australia is now doing it. Used to be they had rights to own firearms, this, that, and the other to protect themselves and stuff. But now, like even here in America, in other parts of Europe, if you defend yourself and use deadly force, even though you're justified in doing so, even in the eyes of God, you will still go to prison because they don't want you defending yourself either. They want you to let them protect you, which they never will, because they can't. They can't be everywhere all at one time. Only God can do that. But that's how they always do it. They destabilize society, take your ability away of protecting yourself. You start living in fear. Then they start, rationing the food and water, provisions. Then your housing's questionable, your clothing is questionable, and you just live in a constant state of fear, and you start screaming, somebody save us, and the government's like, oh, we'll do it if you just give us your rights, and we'll initiate socialism and let the government lead everything, and then they just run it more into the garbage, and yeah. There's never been a society, unless it's God's design and God's society, where socialism has worked. God's system is socialism, in a sense. It's God providing for you, not you providing for each other. There's the difference. And God, now as we are to live on earth, and when you read God's word, you kind of see that God says that we are to help take care of each other, to a point that we should be bartering everything and not even using gold or coin or money of any sort. We should be bartering things constantly. Like, your farmers over here doing their farming, or, the crops, and then you have your ranchers. They do the meat, boom, you exchange food that way. It's like, okay, well, I got meat, you got veggies, I want some veggies, and here I got to trade you meat for veggies, and then, then you have your tradesmen, which I fell into that category of being a repairman, a builder, this, that, and the other, engineer type people and stuff, so on and so forth, and you traded your services for goods, and everybody lived nice. Everyone took care of one another, this, that, and the other. That's the society God wants, and that's the society that man always says that they're trying to do, but it's always some selfish person, greedy person, some tyrannical person trying to put themselves in that position so they can take charge of everything and have everything for themselves and make slaves of everybody else. So, but yeah. Now, of course, in society today, we would love to have instant gratification to the wicked only. The people trying to do good or trying to live moral, they should have leniency, but it's like, I tell you right now, a lot of times I'm sitting there looking at how these wicked people are doing stuff today, and I'm like, God, I don't think they're going to be saved. You might as well just, take them on out now. But it's hard to understand this, but they are tools from God to bring burden and hard times to the people, so that people will see that Satan's way will never prosper. And that's kind of what we're under today. Satan is the governor of the world. and all the governments in it. Anybody that desires to be in government, they're not godly. Godly people don't want to rule over other people. They don't want to lead. They want God to lead. They just want to follow God and just, be in charge of their little households, And that's it. Their families and stuff. But yeah. Anyways, I can be talking on stuff like that for hours, and don't want to be talking for hours on these. Well, I'd love to, but it only benefits if you actually have a whole group of people and you're able to interact. Here it's just, doing a Bible study. And we're going to come across some parts in here of that where Nehemiah is going to be asking for punishment of the wicked. And also, Nehemiah is going to boast himself, talking about how good he's done. For God to remember him for, these works that he's done. That's one thing, especially in New Testament, we're not to do those things no more. We're not to boast ourselves, like, look how good I've done, look at these good things I've done for these people beneath me and blah, blah, blah. That's actually another form of sin. It wasn't a sin in Old Testament, but it is in New Testament. God called it out when you're talking about the Pharisees that would stand on the street corners praying aloud, boasting themselves. He called them hypocrites. So the thing is, God knows everything. You don't have to announce to the world what good you've done. If you want God to know it, God already knows it. But Nehemiah does this, and at the end I can't remember if it's at the end of 4 or 5. Either or. I will say, though, the first chapter is a bunch of names, and it's talking about who's, repairing what. Talking about the gates and the walls and stuff of that nature. So, bear with me in chapter 3. It's quite dry. A lot of names. But it leads to other things. You got to remember that most of the Old Testament in these areas was for the lineage of the Israelites. I already said that, so. But there's parts in here for us to learn as well. So we understand where things come from. We got to understand the history of everything so we understand all of it. And that's why we don't skip anything. And God says, this is how we're to do it. And so this is how I'm going to do it. So, let's go ahead and get started here. Nehemiah chapter 3. Then Eliashib, the high priest, rose up with his brethren, the priests, and they builded the sheep gate. They sanctified it and set up the doors of it, even unto the tower of Meah. They sanctified it unto the tower of Hananiel. And next unto him builded the men of Jericho, and next to them builded Zachar the son of Imri. But the fish gate did the sons of Hassenaah build, who also laid the beams thereof, and set up the doors thereof, the locks thereof, and the bars thereof. Now, quick pause. I don't know what a fish gate is. More than likely it's a gate to catch fish. How they did, whatever. Some of these things we're not really going to know. The sheep gate, which we know that's we have stuff like that today, a livestock gate system. But the fish gate part, I guess they had a big old water system in the middle of town and stuff, and they can run the water through and put the gate there to catch fish, and the water will go through. But whichever. Guess you can use your imagination on that part, but yeah. Now, I said I'm probably going to butcher some of these names. I'm not the best with them. I'll try, but I'm going to try to remember not to pause too long trying to say these in my head. I practiced some of them, but I'm getting better. If you've been listening since the beginning up till now, I've gotten a whole lot better. I'm far less dry of a reader as what I used to be. Which I recommend anybody that has dyslexia read this way, read out loud and stuff. You know, I think it'll help you become a better reader. I've been horrible at it most of my life. And, but yeah, dyslexia kind of sucks, but it is what it is. So let's continue on, verse 4. And next unto them repaired Meremoth, the son of Rijah, the son of Koz. And next unto them repaired Meshullam, the son of Berechiah, the son of Meshezabeel, Meshezabeel. I tell you right now, I don't know how in the heck they come up with these names, but some of them are like that. Anyways. And next unto them repaired Zadok, the son of Baana. Yeah, it's that A-N-A part, Anna. Baana. And next unto them the Tekoites repaired, but their nobles put not their necks to the work of their Lord. Moreover, the old gate repaired Jehoiada, the son of Paseah, and Meshullam, the son of Besodiah. They laid the beams thereof, and set up the doors thereof, and the locks thereof, and the bars thereof. And next unto them repaired Melatiah the Gibeonite, and Jadon the Meronothite, the men of Gibeon, and Mizpah unto the throne of the governor on this side the river. Next unto him repaired Uzziel, the son of Heraiah, of the goldsmiths. Next unto him also repaired Hananiah, the son of one of the apothecaries, and they fortified Jerusalem unto the broad wall. And next unto them repaired Repahiah, the son of Hur, the ruler of the half part of Jerusalem. And next unto them repaired Jediah, the son of Huramaeth, close enough, even over against his house. And next unto him repaired Haddish, the son of Hashabaniah, Malchijah, the son of Haram, and Hashab, the son of Pahath Moab, repaired the other piece and the tower of the furnaces. And next unto him repaired Shallum, the son of Holahesh, the ruler of the half part of Jerusalem, he and his daughters. The valley gate repaired Hanan and the inhabitants of Zanoah. They built it and set up the doors thereof, the locks thereof, and the bars thereof, and 1,000 cubits on the wall unto the dung gate. Yeah, let's not visualize that gate too much. 14. But the dung gate repaired Malchiah, the son of Rechab, the ruler of part of Beth Haccherem. He built it and set up the doors thereof, the locks thereof, and the bars thereof. But the gate of the fountain repaired Shallum, the son of Colhozeh, the ruler of part of Mizpah. He built it and covered it, and set up the doors thereof, the locks thereof, and the bars thereof, and the wall of the pool of Siloah, by the king's garden, and unto the stairs that go down from the city of David. After him repaired Nehemiah, the son of Azbuk, the ruler of the half part of Bethzur, unto the place over against the sepulchres of David, and to the pool that was made, and unto the house of the mighty. After him repaired the Levites, Rehum the son of Bani. Next unto him repaired Hashabiah. No, I don't know why some of these are a little tongue twister to say. Hashabiah, the ruler of the half part of Keilah, in his part. After him repaired their brethren, Bavai, the son of Henadad, the ruler of the half part of Keilah. The next to him repaired Ezer, the son of Jeshua, the ruler of Mizpah, another piece over against the going up to the armory at the turning of the wall. After him Baruch, the son of Zebai, earnestly repaired the other piece from the turning of the wall unto the door of the house of Eliashib, the high priest. After him repaired Meremoth, the son of Arijah, the son of Koz, another piece from the door of the house of Eliashib even to the end of the house of Eliashib. And after him repaired the priests, the men of the plain. After him repaired Benjamin and Hashab over against their house. After him repaired Azariah, the son of Maaseiah, the son of Ananiah, by his house. After him repaired Benui, the son of Henadad, another piece, from the house of Azariah unto the turning of the wall, even unto the corner. Palel, the son of Uzziah, over against the turning of the wall, and the tower which lieth out from the king's high house, that was by the court of the prison. After him Pedaiah, the son of Parosh. Moreover, the Nethinims dwelt in Ophel, unto the place over against the water gate toward the east, and the tower that lieth out. After them the Tekoites repaired another piece over against the great tower that lieth out, even unto the wall of Ophel. From above the horse gate repaired the priest, every one over against his house. After them repaired Zadok the son of Immer over against his house. After him repaired also Shemaiah, the son of Shechaniah, the keeper of the east gate. After him repaired Hananiah, the son of Shelemiah, and Hanan, the sixth son of Zalaph, another piece. After him repaired Meshullam, the son of Berechiah, over against his chamber. After him repaired Melchiah, the goldsmith's son, unto the place of the Nethinims and of the merchants, over against the gate Mifkad, and to the going up of the corner. And between the going up of the corner unto the sheep gate repaired the goldsmiths and the merchants. Chapter 4. But it came to pass that when Sanballat heard that we builded the wall, he was wroth, and took great indignation, and mocked the Jews. And he spake before his brethren and the army of Samaria, and said, What do these feeble Jews? Will they fortify themselves? Will they sacrifice? Will they make an end in a day? Will they revive the stones out of the heaps of the rubbish which are burned? Now Tobiah the Ammonite was by him, and he said, Even that which they build, if a fox go up, he shall even break down their stone wall. Hear, O our God, for we are despised, and turn their approach upon their own head, and give them for a prey in the land of captivity. So here's that part where, now today, that's the difference. Under grace, we're to pray for our enemies. We're to love our enemies. Pray that they turn from their wicked ways and become Christians. Now, that's kind of part of our commandments now under New Testament. Old Testament, they were allowed to hate their enemies. They were allowed to destroy them, their entire civilizations. And so that's another big difference you see between Old Testament and New Testament. And it shows you the kind of the difference of how God wanted to turn things around. I've talked about it before, but in case you're new to this, doing bunches of punishments don't always work. It makes people more rebellious. Now, of course, you have God's commandment, spare the rod, spoil the child, which you are to discipline. But it's just, you've seen it in action. If you keep putting burdens on people, eventually they snap and lose their temper, and it changes who you are. I've been to combat zone areas, and they had to do police actions in like Bosnia and stuff of that nature back in the 90s, and you clearly see when people are being oppressed, it makes them very bitter. And in a sense, in Old Testament, if you were not Jewish, or if you didn't convert to Judaism, you were pretty much oppressed by God Himself, because you had to do it this way and only this way, or you weren't going to be in the kingdom. Your sins couldn't be forgiven. You had to do the sacrifices a certain way and everything else. So now under grace, it's totally different. Now anybody can be a Christian from anywhere around the world. But a very large sacrifice of Jesus, the Son of God, being killed, mercilessly beaten and killed, hung on a cross to die, and He went through some of the biggest pains and biggest tortures, for that to happen, so now we can be under grace. And God sent His one and only Son to die for our sins, so that he who may believeth on Him shall have everlasting life. And a lot of people, they don't really understand that part. It says believe on. Part of that believing is Jesus says, pick up your cross and follow me. That means follow and obey. So that's part of the believing part. But that's Old and New Testament. God says, if you believe in me, you do it my way, but it didn't really work that well. But see, now, like I said, here you have, Nehemiah talking about, for these people that despise them, bring punishment upon them. I'll admit, I find myself doing this same thing with a lot of these wicked people today. I even talked about it before. I truly want them to be saved, but like I said before, you can see how their lives are going. And since they have so much money and they have so much power over people, I don't think they're going to be saved, not unless all their money and power is taken away from them, and then they hit rock bottom like a lot of us have to live. And then you start seeing what real life is about. Then maybe God will be able to speak to them, but while they have money and power, they're not going to hear God one bit. They don't care about God. They get to live the high life. And normally, by the sweat of our backs, by the aching of our backs and the sweat of our brows, they get to live the high life while we get little crumbs. That's why God's way is far better, because everybody's needs are met. Nobody has any more than anyone else, really. That's how it will be in God's kingdom. Everybody will be sitting at the same table, eating the same foods, wearing the same clothes, living in the same mansions, the same homes. So I think that's where a lot of people get their utopia of what, true socialism, how they think true socialism will be, is the utopia, but only God can do that. Only God's system can do that. Man can't do that, because with human beings, there's always an ulterior motive if you want to be the one in charge. Because none of them people in charge of anywhere, do they live less than you. They always make sure they live better than you. God doesn't need nothing from us. That's the big key difference. God, we don't benefit God none whatsoever. In fact, sometimes we're just an annoyance to him. Well, he loves us. I ain't gonna say that we're an annoyance, but he doesn't need us. We need him. But there's rules to everything, because God does not like disobedience. Can't stand it. Drives him bonkers. Jesus too. But in the teaching of Jesus is, we're to educate people more. That way they learn. That's the key rule is, the key point of it all is, they learn more about the Gospels. That way they can understand it more. Because calling somebody a sinner and they don't know that they're a sinner, they don't even know what it's about, you're just going to offend them. First, you got to get them to understand, hey, this is what God says, and these are rules God's put down. So in the eyes of God, you are a sinner to him. At the end of your life, there's two places. There's one place you're going to go, or another place you could go. We're already headed to hell just by, being born on earth. Once we're past the age of accountability, we're already on our way to hell. So God gave us an exit off that highway to go to heaven. It's kind of how you talk about it that way. But that's how we are to be today. It's totally different. Let's continue on here. I said I can be on some areas like this for a long time, and I think this lesson's going to be longer than I expected. But I'm going to go ahead and keep on reading. Verse 5. And cover not... Did I read the other part at the bottom here? Oh, yeah, I did. I'm sorry. Yeah, I did. Yeah. Hear, O God, for we despise and turn it. Sorry. Verse 5. And cover not their iniquity, and let not their sin be blotted out from before thee, for they have provoked thee to anger before the builders. So here it's like, it's like this guy's asking God to not even forgive them of their sins. That's a little hate in the heart right there. I tell you right now, I would be happy as a pig in slop. if all these wicked rulers in the earth, if Jesus was to, he would be able to grab all their hearts and convert them to him all at the same time, to see the wickedness of these rulers turn to love of Christ. Like, I don't care what all bad they done, this, that, and the other stuff, because I've done bad, you've done bad. To God, bearing false witness and murders, pretty much the same sin. A sin is a sin in a sense. Now, there's different levels of sin. I ain't gonna say there's, each sin is a different level. God does say that, but I'm just saying, one sin keeps you out, type thing. But it's like, that's when you say, hey, God forgave me of mine, God's forgiven them of theirs. Let's move forward now and quit with this vengeful stuff. Being vengeful, that's a human trait, that's a satanic trait, a worldly trait. We're not supposed to be that way following Christ. It's a hard thing now, I'm not gonna lie, because we're still in the flesh, so it's a hard thing to stop that, but yeah, anyways, verse 6. So build we the wall, and all the wall was joined together unto the half thereof, for the people had a mind to work. But it came to pass that when Sanballat and Tobiah and the Arabians and the Ammonites and the Ashdodites heard that the walls of Jerusalem were made up and the breaches began to be stopped, then they were very wroth, and conspired all of them together to come and to fight against Jerusalem and to hinder it. Nevertheless, we made our prayer unto our God and set a watch against them day and night because of them. And Judah said, the strength of the bearers of burdens is decayed, and there is much rubbish, so that we are not able to build the wall. And our adversaries said, they shall not know, neither see, till we come in the midst among them, and slay them, and cause the work to cease. And it came to pass that when the Jews which dwelt by them came, they said unto us 10 times, from all the places whence ye shall return unto us, they will be upon you. So that's one of God's little things there. Whatever you do to someone else, you'll be returned tenfold. And it's so it can either be a punishment or a reward. So if you do good, you're supposed to receive back 10 times. A lot of people think is, well, if I give a lot of money, I'll get 10 times that. So that's a greed thing. God's not about money and possessions and stuff like that. He's about love and peace and living in harmony. And you got to remember what also God says. If you have food, clothing, and shelter, you are rich. That's what God says. So think about, God doesn't care about you wanting a fancy car. It's not even on the list. Food, clothing, and shelter, those are necessities, and if you have those things, you are rich. You may not have the fancy house you desire, but trust me, if you desire a fancy house, you might want to go look in the mirror and question yourself, are you truly of God? Do you truly have the Holy Spirit? Because Jesus commands us to live a humble life. Now, I will say I do desire healthy foods because I'm sick and dang tired of super glutens and chemicals in my food because it makes me feel like crap, and you feel it when you can't eat healthy, but if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. So I tell you right now, I can't wait to be at that banquet table of God's, though, because everything there's going to be all natural and all healthy and good for us. You have to deal with all this corrupt stuff that was down here. Anyways, let's continue on. Jumping on another rabbit trail. Let's get back to the main path here. 13. Therefore set I in the lower place behind the wall, and on the higher places I even set the people after their families with their swords, their spears, and their bows. And I looked and rose up and said unto the nobles and to the rulers and to the rest of the people, Be not ye afraid of them. Remember the Lord, which is great and terrible, and fight for your brethren, your sons and your daughters, your wives and your houses. And it came to pass, when our enemies heard that it was known unto us, and God had brought their counsel to naught, that we returned all of us to the wall, every one unto his work. And it came to pass from that time forth that the half of my servants wrought in the work, and the other half of them held both the spears, the shields, and the bows, and the habergeons. Now, if you don't remember what the habergeons, I think we went over that before. That was like chainmail. That was armor, a type of armor you could wear to protect yourself. So yeah. Continue on. And the rulers were behind all the house of Judah. They which builded on the wall, and they that bare burdens, with those that laded, every one with one of his hands wrought in the work, and with the other hand held a weapon. For the builders, every one had his sword girded by his side, and so builded. And he that sounded the trumpet was by me. And I said unto the nobles, and to the rulers, and to the rest of the people, The work is great and large, and we are separated upon the wall, one far from another. Sorry, my dog is walking in circles around me. Sometimes this microphone picks up everything. Verse 20. In that place, therefore, ye hear the sound of the trumpet, resort ye hither unto us, our God shall fight for us. So we labored in the work, and half of them held the spears from the rising of the morning till the stars appeared. Likewise at the same time said I unto the people, that every one with his servant lodge within Jerusalem, that in the night they may be a guard to us, and labor on the day. So neither I, nor my brethren, nor my servants, nor the men of the guard which followed me, none of us put off our clothes, saving that every one put them off for washing. Now I say, as a soldier and stuff, having to live that way, field ops and all this other training, 45 days straight wearing almost the same clothing and everything else. Yeah, you don't feel good at all when you're wearing funky, dirty, gummy clothes. And if, here they're talking about they didn't put them off and stuff, and sometimes during field ops, anyone else that's been military that's listening to this knows what I'm talking about, is you sleep prepared. Your socks don't come off. Your shoes don't come off. You got to be ready to jump up and ready to fight. You got to be ready to go now type scenario. And it's not very restful to be that way. It's some people know what I'm talking about too, especially you've been one of those college people where you did things other than studying and stuff, to the point that, you come back to your room and crash, and then get up and go to class, and you're like wearing the same clothes for 3 days, because you're not there to learn, you're there for the experience. Wow. Kind of like the same thing. Like eventually you get to peel them things off you and bathe, and I remember it's like, so it's like in the military and stuff. A lot of times you go without bathing, and you don't have time. You get an ambush may happen. You're training for this, you're training for that. So you got to learn to live and work and perform in these conditions from time to time, so you know that you can do it and what to expect. Yeah, it's not nice to be that way. The only difference is, of course, we had multiple changes of clothing, so Even if we didn't get to bathe, all we could do is change and put fresh, undergarments on and stuff, and maybe the same BDU bottoms and top or whatever. But at least to change the socks and the undergarments and t-shirt and stuff, that'd make you feel a whole lot better just by itself. But anyway, let's continue on here. Chapter 5. And there was a great cry of the people and of their wives against their brethren the Jews. For there were that said, we, our sons and our daughters, are many. Therefore we take up corn for them, that we may eat and live. Some also there were that said, we have mortgaged our lands, vineyards, and houses, that we might buy corn because of the dearth. There were also that said, we have borrowed money for the king's tribute, and that upon our lands and vineyards. This is something that goes on today, which God is completely against. And some people's made it their lives to destroy. I'm sorry, let's say lives. They've made it their goal and mission to destroy people's lives with stuff like this, because they're just so selfish and greedy. And continue on here. It goes along the part where borrowing money, and you have all these interest rates and stuff, and they keep telling you with these, they pay for these ads and stuff to get you to want to buy a fancy house, buy a fancy car, buy a fancy outfit, this, that, and y'all put it on credit, this, that, and the other. They don't care about destroying your lives, but they'll push for stuff so you'll start desiring worldly things, and you'll put yourself in such a financial burden, and they love to do it, and God's against that type of stuff. Anyway, so continue on, verse 5, because we're fixing to come into that. Yet now our flesh is as the flesh of our brethren, our children as their children, and lo, we bring into bondage our sons and our daughters to be servants, and some of our daughters we brought unto bondage already. And so what they have to do is, like, to get provisions and stuff, they'd have to sell their children as servants. Sell them as, put them in this. It's when you don't have money or this, that, and the other to provide for yourself, you become a servant. You go into bondage to somebody, so that they can provide for you, and you do free work for them, and you don't really have your own life. Which, some people, God says it's not a bad way to live at times if you can't do good for yourselves. But a lot of times you have people manipulating people into this type of servitude because they can do better for themselves, but they're just being oppressed. And corrupt governments do this a lot. They love it. But anyways, continue on. Neither is it in our power to redeem them, for other men have our lands and vineyards. And I was very angry when I heard their cry and these words. Then I consulted with myself, and I rebuked the nobles and the rulers, and said unto them, Ye exact usury, that's that word, usury, every one of his brother, and I set a great assembly against them. That's what God says when you use usury. You're using your people for financial benefit. It's like having, like, countries, or like even in American stuff today, we have taxes being used for other than what it's needed. Taxes in America and most other countries, the tax is only supposed to be there for the government to function. But of course, we're going to send billions to this country. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And we're going to use all this money. And so now America's over $34 trillion something in debt. And that's usury from our government, stealing from the people to do whatever they want to with it. And God is against it big time. That's putting an unnecessary burden upon the people. It's like, because this is that part of God I was talking about before. His version of socialism is, if you've been blessed financially, you're to help those who haven't been. That's a commandment from God. You're to live a humble life. That was a commandment from Christ as well. You're to help those who haven't been. But also, you're only supposed to help those who help themselves and are your brethren in a sense, because if you are financing wickedness, they're going to continue doing wicked. So you have to weigh the difference there. That's why you always have to ask God about what you give to and stuff. Because there's wicked people out there and deceivers. Anyways. But what's going on here, of course, that people, since they need to eat and stuff while doing all this, instead of their nobles, the people over them that has much, giving to their brethren, says, here, I'm going to feed you this, that, and the other, so we can get this work done and everything else. They're selling it to them, and since they're rebuilding Jerusalem's walls, instead of working their own land, they're losing their land to the nobles and stuff. There's like, well, we'll take your vineyards and stuff, or we'll give you a little loan and everything else so you can eat while you're doing this. And it's like the noble stuff has their people doing this work and then taking their land and stuff from them because they have them doing this work instead of them working their land and making money to pay the taxes or whatever. It's a total corruption stuff going on here. And you got governments today, all of America, everywhere else, they do stuff like this all the time. It's like, the bill collectors, when they start coming up, it's like, hey, I lost my job or I got injured, I can't work. They're like, pay your bills. I ain't making no money right now. Pay your bills, or we're going to take your house, we're going to take your car, we're going to take your, take. They don't care. That's a form of usury. Used to be in this country, people's like, okay, well, I see what's going on. Don't worry about it right now. Pay me when you can, and then you can get called up. No worries. Then you have people that would cheat, of course, but, then we normally solve it through the cheaters, but still. It's that America used to be full of kindness. America is now following Satan. America, for the most part, has kicked God out. And you see it in the cities. You even see it in the country. Even out here in the wooded areas of Tennessee where I live at. You got people around this, that, and the other stuff. You see almost the same. Not all the time, but there's a lot of people that they're following Satan. They ain't following God at all. They don't have that godly mentality no more. It's all about what you're going to do for me, or how's this, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And it's people using other people all the time. And, it's sad. It's sad to see America fall to Satan so quickly after being blessed by God. But the Israelites quit following God many times, and they witnessed the miracles and everything else. God saved them multiple times, and they kept turning their back against God. So I've always been under this belief that, if the Israelites are going to turn their back against God, does America think it's any better? It's not. It's just as fallible, if not more. But anyways, continue on here. Last chapter. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I just looked at the time, almost up to an hour. There's some good lessons and stuff to learn in here and everything, but there's only 19 verses in this, so let's go ahead and finish our own up. And I said unto them, we have our ability. I'm sorry. I read that wrong. And I said unto them, we, after our ability, have redeemed our brethren the Jews, which were sold unto the heathen. And will ye even sell your brethren? Or shall ye be sold unto us? Then held they their peace, and found nothing to answer. Also I said, it is not good that ye do. Ought ye not to walk in the fear of our God, because of the reproach of the heathen, our enemies? I likewise, and my brethren, and my servants, might exact of them money and corn. I pray you, let us leave off this usury. Restore, I pray you, to them even this day their lands, their vineyards, their olive yards, and their houses, also the 100th part of the money, and of the corn, the wine, and the oil, that ye exact of them. Then said they, we will restore them, and will require nothing of them. so will we do as thou sayest. Then I called the priest and took an oath of them that they should do according to this promise. So here, today we have contracts. You got to sign, get notarized. This was their version of doing an oath. And so this has been going on for a long time of, having to, and the fact that you just say it, okay, now here's an oath as well, and here's witnesses to it that you did say it, and blah, blah, blah. Because for a long time, people have not always been keepers of their word. Continue on, verse 13. Also I shook my lap and said, so God shake out every man from his house and from his labor that performeth not this promise, even thus be he shaken out and emptied. And all the congregation said, Amen, and praised the Lord, and the people did according to this promise. Moreover, from the time that I was appointed to be their governor in the land of Judah, from the 20th year even unto the 32nd year of Artaxerxes the king, that is, 12 years, I and my brethren have not eaten the bread of the governor. But the former governors that had been before me were chargeable unto the people, and had taken of them bread and wine, beside 40 shekels of silver. Yea, even their servants bare rule over the people, but so did not I, because of the fear of God. Yea, also I continued in the work of this wall, neither bought we any land, and all my servants were gathered thither unto the work. Moreover, there were at my table 150 of the Jews and rulers, besides those that came unto us from among the heathen that are about us. Now, that which was prepared for me daily was 1 ox and 6 choice sheep. Also fowls were prepared for me, and once in 10 days store of all sorts of wine. Yet for all this required not I the bread of the governor, because the bondage was heavy upon this people. Think upon me, my God, for good, according to all that I have done for this people. So here's that part I said, look what all I've done, all the good stuff I've done, set and the other, think upon me, blah, blah, blah. God already knows, but, this is that stuff where they're patting themselves on the back a little bit. And God's not down for that, but it is in the Bible. And it's to show us that even God's chosen people are fallible. Moses committed murder. Moses also was wary in following the Lord. He didn't have much faith. He was skittish about it. King David committed adultery and murder. King Solomon worshipped false gods. It's like, yeah. Many of God's chosen people did bad things, which says to all of us, you're not going to be perfect. You're to try to be, but you're not going to be. So if you do fail, don't beat yourself up too much about it, because you are just human being in flesh, a sinful flesh at that. But that's why Jesus says part of his charge to us is that we're to pray in a prayer closet. We're to pray in silence. We don't need the world to know what we're praying about and stuff. We don't, he wants our communications to be private, not for the world to hear. But that's the end of that reading. It says only 19 verses and 5. So, I know I've done way past the time here. Someone say pray. Remember to pray. We got to pray for the lost. We got to pray for the wicked. We got to pray for ourselves, each other, our families, everybody, and everything. We got to talk to God daily. God says pray everywhere. And if you read in which part is it? It's in New Testament where it says, a woman is to adorn a head covering while praying and prophesying, and a man is not to adorn a head covering while praying and prophesying. But then also remember, we're to pray everywhere. So men are not to have their head covers, and women should have their head covers. Or be under a covering or something of that nature. But that's the reason why you have in the old times and stuff, even the Amish women today, they don't go outside without their head covering. They've done this for many years in America, all the way up through the 50s. A lot of women still done this, and it started, feminism coming stronger in, and women following satanic feminism more than following God. They went away from obeying God's rules on that. But when they went outside, they put a little thing covering their head. But they were starting to do their hairdos a lot and stuff in the 50s, so they didn't want to cover their head too much. They wanted to show off their hairdos. They forgot the part in the Bible where it says a woman's to have unbroidered hair, which means other than natural. Also means braided, but also means other than natural. I'm going on a totally different lesson here. I'm sorry. Let me get back on track here. But yeah, we're commanded to pray everywhere. Pray while we work. Pray while we don't work. Pray for our food. Pray while we're eating our food. There's always things to pray about. God wants you to talk to Him. That's all it really is. Prayer, it's all it really is just talking to the Lord. Especially praying, being thankful, telling God, when you tell God you're thankful for stuff in your life and how your day's gone good and this, that, and the other, and we're supposed to even be thankful for the bad times. I have a hard time with that myself, so if you have a hard time with that, I understand. I fell on that too. I get upset badly when my life ain't going good, but I did a lot of that today too. So yeah, Lord, please forgive me of that big time. I was bad today. But you pray for me and I pray for you. We're going to need it. Times are going to get harder. The end times are upon us, and it's going to get bad. It's going to get quite bad. The mark of the beast is going to be coming, and it's a lot of people want to starve to death when it comes to that time, unless they take the mark, because you won't be able to do business. You won't be able to go to a grocery store, this, that, and the other. You're going to have to be living in the woods off the land or something like that, That's why it's like you got what's the big push today? All the governments are now trying to take away everybody's ability to be self-reliant. Trying to take everybody's farms away, their private farms, their livestock, knowing how to make their own butter and have a cow with milk and stuff, and having their own chickens and stuff. Oh, we got a bird flu coming around. Everyone's got something that now I hear about talking about registering your chickens. If you got chickens and stuff, that way they can come and know what's what. It's like, anything and everything they can use to try to take away your ability to be self-reliant, because if you can live on your own, they can't control you. If you're forced to live their way, they can control you. So remember that. Anyways, remember to pray. And I'm going to end this lesson here. So, until next time, God bless, good night, and goodbye.